differentiation of self. So this is the ability to maintain your own identity while remaining emotionally connected to somebody else. That's a delicate balance, right? Sometimes people feel like they're going to get engulfed, and so they wall off because they didn't have good boundaries modeled to them, and they're going to lose themselves. So the only way they can maintain autonomy is to avoid and wall off and like protect themselves so much that there's no connection. So they have their individuality and their autonomy, but they've had to pay a price. They don't get to keep connection as a result. Or on the flip side, you're so connected and you're always choosing that connection to the point where you're abandoning yourself or you're boundaryless, and you will accept things that are actually dishonoring of who you are and what your life dreams are and what your values are. And so it's like you don't know how do I stay connected? Now I'm sacrificing my sense of self for connection. Finding that balance is difficult, I think, in this world for most everybody, but the level of difficulty, of course, ranges depending on what your experiences have been, what the template is of your relational life that we get in early childhood. But being able to really have that sense of self, who am I? That goes back to the vision that I talk about. What am I here for? What are my values? What is my purpose? What do I want to be able to say I did in this lifetime on my last day on earth? What will I regret if I didn't do? What will I regret if I did? And that guides you. Because sometimes people, and I had this in my 20s, I don't know who I am. When people say just be yourself, well, who is that? I don't know who that is. How you find out is you think about, what do I want? What do I think is important in life? What kind of people do I gravitate towards and why? And so then how do I show up to create that? And then you become that, right? But you're being guided by a sense of I that is separate from others, but is not too egotistical. Because if you're too much in the ego of I, then that will also compromise your spiritual growth as well. So this is actually very nuanced, delicate work. And it's like something that never really ends. I think it's always a balancing act, just like we have this balancing act in society between what I want as an individual and also what I have to consider. I want to run this red light because I have to be somewhere. But if I do that, I could hurt somebody else. So I have to consider the collective in all of my decision making. It's really just like that on a micro level in relationships. And then you can prevent enmeshment. You can know who you are and come from a very grounded place that's actually very magnetic. When you come from a place of like, I know who I am, I know what I'm here for, I know what I'm not going to participate in. It's not that hard to say no to somebody, or it's not that hard to pivot or to withdraw from a dynamic that is toxic. It's much easier to disconnect when you're coming from a place of self-differentiation because your sense of well-being is not hinged on the other person.